foremost, I want to thank Awel. Yes, please clap for Awel. And this is why. First and foremost, Steve Harvey says that the only person or the only man who can wish you to become better than them is your father. Awel is one of the few men that I met that wishes other men and other people to become better than him. And you might be wondering, yeah, but here's the thing. I became part of LéO Africa in 2017. My OGs are back there, Raymond and the others, and from Shalom. But at that point, I had just lost a job where I was earning lots of money, and I was at the brink of like, okay, what to do next? And I was starting Media Challenge Initiative. At that point, I had a PowerPoint presentation. I wanted to start a fellowship. I joined the Yale program. And after the program, I went down, sat with Awel and said, here's what I want to do. Here are all the wild dreams that I have. And he guided me step by step on how to turn a fellowship into a community. I had ideas, but he helped me structure them and also make connections. What Awel also doesn't know is that from that point, I think our relationship with the Conrad Adenauer Stiftung as one of our funders started flourishing even further because of me being part of that community. And most people, especially in the NGO spaces and the fundraising spaces, wouldn't open doors for funders to support people who probably have come through under them, right? My organization, Media Challenge Initiative, we share donors and funders with Awel. Clap for that. Yeah. It's important because to find someone who is willing to share that space, but also willing to open those doors for others is highly commended for me, and I really thank you for. But another reason for finding you is you build the community. It's one thing to start these programs, it's another for people to keep coming back. Every time we have events, we show up. We don't show up because of you, we show up because you built an insane, passionate community that believes in the work that you're doing, but also believes in the value that you've created. So Raymond has been seated here for, I don't know how many hours. He told me he has a wedding, but I didn't see him leave. So I guess he was inspired by the many stories. And for me, that's the part that brings me to this cohort. I've been blessed to meet the Griots of 2025, but also to coach alongside you. In the last few months, I've also been super exhausted. So just being part of your stories kept inspiring me every day, hearing them and just seeing everything come up here on stage. I can only say congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. Please clap for yourselves. Now, you can't claim to be a griot if this story is going to just stay with you and stay here in this room. We can only claim to be griots if this story lives in other people. So what that means is that this is a starter. So whatever you've done here is amazing. And we felt the passion, the drive, the desire, and what you want to do next, and the call to action. And I was having a conversation before with someone saying, storytelling is healing, is many pieces of you that came out here on stage that you've never shared before. I'm walking away with one story of how his description of how prison And his time there opened up what we now know as Wonder JR. It's a story I'm staying with and going back home with. Listening to Amanda talking about being the only person in the room and saying, where are we in the Gatlands, or where are we in that story, resonates every day for some of us who go into places and you're the only black person in the room and you can't see your story. Or people who are talking about their grandfathers and, and for us who have grandmother stories and connect with that. Or Derek and the black tax and some of us who are deep into it. So those stories, it's just the beginning. And I have a few tips for you, which I had to put on notes because I didn't want to forget them. The story was just started, so it will need watering. What it means is that you can't stop practicing. You can't say, yeah, I was on stage, I made it. No. Saxon. I have bad news for you, my friend, because now you have to work on that story more. The story needs adaptability. You're going to speak to different audiences. Today you're speaking to all people that know it. Tomorrow you're going to speak to funders. Another day you're going to speak to young people. The next day you speak to professionals. This story is not fixed. It will move and transform into other many stories. So the biggest challenge you have is after here, how do you transform that story to speak to as many communities as possible? We are locking ourselves into the African continent and speaking to only ourselves. How are you going to communicate to people in Alaska? How will you connect and resonate with them? So you will need to guard your story, because these stories are subject to be manipulated. So you're not only guarding your story, you're also guarding the whole idea of the African narrative that we've been talking about here every day. There's a lot of financial literacy, but you also now need a story bank. And the story bank is simple as this story. You have a personal story, you have a professional story, you have an ancestral story, you have a humorous story. And within that bank that you have, anytime you can choose which version you can use. So again, my challenge to you now is go create a story bank and find what's your personal story, find what's your ancestral story and where you come from, find what's your professional story, find something, would be a crazy story or a humorous story.